So essays are definitely an important part of the admissions process. Of course, they're just one piece of the process, so it really is a holistic, schools are taking a holistic view and essays are just a part of it. But they're definitely an important part because it's an area where the student can talk about something that's nowhere else in their application. It's where they can show their voice, they can tell a story, they can tell the admissions committee something that they wouldn't otherwise know about the student. And it's also exciting for the admissions committees too, because, they're just looking at numbers, they're looking at statistics all day long, and this is an area where they can really, get to know somebody and enjoy reading something. It's an enjoyable part of their day. So it's definitely an important part of the process, and it's, a chance for the student to really show who they are, other than just, their SAT scores or their GPA. I think the biggest thing that schools look for in essays is authenticity. So obviously, you don't want mistakes or anything like that, but it's really easy to tell when a student is forcing something and when they're writing something that doesn't feel true to them. So schools are definitely looking for something that feels true and authentic, and something that the student, it sounds like it's something they actually care about and something they actually like, not something they're told that they're supposed to like. And I think through that, you'll see a student's passion, because, schools also want to know that you're passionate about, whatever experience you had or whatever you're planning to study. So they want to see passion, they want to see motivation, leadership. But I think that by writing something that's authentic and genuine to a student, you'll get all of those things. And that's what the admissions committees are really looking for. So I always tell students to start crafting their essays by actually not even thinking about the essay. I always tell students to just create a list of past experiences, impactful moments in your life, or, whether there was ever a challenge that you had that you overcame, and it can be personal, it can be professional, it can be academic, any aspect of a student's life, any experience that they had that they're really excited about. It just gives students an opportunity to reflect on the things that are important to them. And then once they have all of that information in a list, just a bullet point list, they're able to go back, read through everything, and then kind of see what stands out to them. Usually by doing that, students will figure out what their essay is just by reading everything back and talking it over. They realize the things that they're most excited about, and you kind of find a way to intertwine and weave stories together, and then also combine them with something that the student wants to study in college and something that they're excited about for the future. And that's usually the best way to get started. There are definitely topics that some students, or all students, should really avoid talking about. If there's a situation that's unresolved in a student's life, they should definitely steer clear of that. So for instance, if you experienced a personal loss that was really difficult, it's not always a bad thing to talk about it, but if, for instance, you are in an interview and the interviewer asks you about the question and you can't get through an answer without crying because it's an unresolved issue, you definitely want to steer clear of that. I would also say anything that's, too sad or full of grief that doesn't really have a purpose, where you can't show growth or a motivation behind it, I would try and steer clear of that. You generally want to make sure that there's a hopeful tone rather than a sad undertone in your essays. So those are kind of the big things I tell students to steer clear of. I think to craft a standout essay, you really need to stay true to yourself. So write something that feels right for you. Plenty of people will say, you should write about this, you should write about that. I think that writing about something that comes naturally to you or something that you're actually excited about, even if it doesn't seem like, the most unique thing, if it's unique to you, if it's important to you, that'll show. Obviously you want to make sure that there are no errors in your essays, and you also want to really try and focus on a narrative. I always tell students, it's not the only way, but I think a really great way to start your essay is with a story. Really short anecdote, just kind of pull the reader in. You sort of want the admissions committees to say, wow, I really need to keep reading this essay because I need to know how this story ends, or I need to know what happened after this story took place. So those are some general tips to craft a standout essay.